Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Isaac Craig, and I'm here with a very special guest. He is called Alexander Smirnov. He's at Kenyon University in Ohio. Say hello to everyone, Alex.
Hello, everyone.
Alex has a YouTube channel, as I mentioned in my previous podcast, where I introduced the podcast to you all. So I will leave links to that. It is a great YouTube channel. I've found so much information from that YouTube channel. And how long have you been doing the YouTube channel for now?
well, for about 2 months, I just started basically.
So yeah, so only just started, and you're on how many subscribers is it now?
About 3,000, which is not a lot,
But say you've been
but
doing
for
it 2
me,
months,
every
3 months.
subscriber counts.
Yeah, and your content is
Yeah.
really informative and really great. I mean, your first video, it just showed the reality of being a student in America, and for something that other people are gonna have to come across, it really helped and showed another side, which isn't like the fairy tale, the side that you see getting into Harvard, Stanford, MIT, getting everywhere. And I mean, now you're in Kenyon. What is it like in Kenyon?
Actually, it's much better than I expected. Maybe because I had my expectations really low because, when you're going into a college that's in the middle of Ohio and it's a liberal arts school and it has like 1,000 people, you can't expect a lot.
But
But actually, now that I'm here, I'm falling in love with it 100%. It's so nice, and the community is great. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
better than Alabama then.
Yes, definitely better.
Yeah. So I've got some questions for you. How was the application different as an international student? Because this is like offered for international students. This podcast. However, if you are American, you're watching this. Great, we're happy to have you here, and this can be really helpful for you as well. But as Alex is an international student, and I'm from England, as you can probably tell from my accent, um, this is what the podcast was set up for. So, as an international student, what was the application process like for you?
Well, it was hard to say the least. You see, in Russia, I'm from Russia, by the way, if you haven't guessed that already. So, in Russia, a lot of people don't speak English. The newer generation learns it now, and a lot of people speak it my age, but my parents, they don't know a word in English. So everything had to be done by myself, including the financial documents, the bank statements, the translations, all of that,
Yeah.
and the essays. So not having someone that you can rely on and ask questions, it was very hard. Plus, the CSS profile is just, it's a killer. It's the
That's the
CSS
heads up.
profile is basically yeah, that's a heads up. Just so you know, it's like the documents that you have to submit financial aid as an international student and start early, like start very early. I started early and it like almost finished, like right by the deadline. So yeah, start very early.
Because I'm applying to start in fall 2021 or 2022, depending on how it works over here in England. So I'm just trying to get this out of the way really, really fast. But as me being English, I don't have to do anything like the TOEFL. Did you do the TOEFL?
Yes, I did have to take the TOEFL, and for all of my fellow internationals who have to take it, just know that it's expensive. It's very expensive. The testing, the sending, everything is expensive. Luckily, I had application fee waivers, which is like when I send my applications, I don't have to pay for them. But for test scores, you have to pay. And TOEFL, I think it's like $200 just for a test,
Yeah.
which is a lot in my opinion. And I took it once, and I recommend everyone taking it once. So you have to prepare, and you have to know you're gonna get a good score. You don't have to spend more money on it,
That's why I'm
basically.
lucky because I'm English, and it's the same for English, Canadian, and Australian people. You don't have to do the TOEFL as we are native speakers of the language. So that is something I'll never have to relate to, which can be seen as a good thing. But I mean, it was an experience to say the least. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
as you said about financial aid before, and you have mentioned in one of your videos that if you are middle income, don't apply for financial aid. And you told us all to write it down, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
As I class, well, in the UK, I'm classed as low income. I don't know if it classes are the same as America. As far as I can find, it does. So for me, financial aid should be given. However, it can't guarantee that. Or if one of my parents gets a pay rise in the next few years, then I might not be able to get the financial aid. But was that a big factor in you coming to America?
Yes. So first of all, from the start, I knew I was not paying $75,000 per year just to get an education. Like that was my goal more than anything. And actually, my parents told me to not apply. They wanted me to get like loans and stuff because they knew that financial aid would be a big factor. But I told like, no, I'm very scared of student loans. That's like one
Yeah.
thing. I'm very scared of them.
Debt for life.
So now that I'm here, yeah. So I don't have any loans and I'm on financial aid. So financial aid is a huge factor. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So if you don't need financial aid, I'm not saying that you will get admitted, but if you have the scores and the brains, you will. A lot of people who don't need financial aid and they didn't, I don't want to like compare people, but they didn't work as hard to get into the schools that they did. So yes, colleges are looking for kind of like diversity and like different countries because they want that list of like we have like 100 countries really good on their webpage. And if you are like getting, for example, 1450, which is a really good score, like you have like two extracurricular activities that you're like okay at, and you have like one regional award, you might get into a good school with those like credentials if you don't apply for financial aid.
Yeah, and also I'd like to refer everyone to your most
Um,
recent video here as well, where you talked about the SAT and the ACT as it's something
mhm.
that I will have to do. As my top school currently is Vanderbilt University, and lucky for me, you have to do one of them. You
Mhm.
can't get in on GCSEs or A levels, which are are tests or standardized tests that we have to do over here, which means that I've watched your video and I now have to decide ACT or SAT. And I'd like to quote Alex on this, as he said, prepare for the SAT and do the ACT. And I think,
Yes.
yeah, I think that might be something that I'm looking into now. I would have never considered this 3 days ago. But now I think, and also prices as well. I'm gonna have to go on about prices now because we have to pay, and it's a lot of money to say that you have to do a test because you do these standardized tests and you can do them for free in your native country. But then to do one to send off to another country, it doesn't sound right on paper.
Yeah. It's really expensive. Everything about the college process is really expensive. And there are a lot of hidden
Yeah,
costs that no one knows, like dorm decorations and I don't know, just like textbooks, stuff like that. No one talks about it, but it's really expensive.
and now on to costs. You applied to over 20 universities. How did you afford
Yes,
that?
21.
21 universities, and how did you afford to do that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I had application fee waivers, so that saved me a lot of money. But in terms of standardized test scores, that was really expensive. TOEFL and SAT, just to send them, it's I can't express how expensive it is. I'm not gonna even name numbers because I'm embarrassed, especially now that I was rejected by like 19 of those schools, so I could have like just not applied. But I had saved some money from like working and like pocket money that my parents gave me. So some of it I paid with my own money, and some of it like my parents decided to pay, which
So that does
was
kind of
really nice
show
of them.
that you needed to grow up really quickly, as there'll be people who are twice your age still living at home and have no idea of money, and that you had to save all that money and get all the information to send it off to America. I mean, I got a admissions letter from a university the other week, and it's $8 just for postage and packaging. I'm thinking, in my bank account, I don't even have $8 or the pound equivalent of that. So it it is one thing that will be, I mean, it'll be an absolute knock for any international student and even American students who are living in America. And to say you live in one state and then you have to go to another state for university, it almost doubles the cost. And if you look at statistics,
Yes.
that is one thing that comes up a lot.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'd like to ask, would you recommend applying to a safety school?
Oh, yes, apply to safeties, guys. I, I, well, I like to think that I did apply to safety schools, aka the University of Alabama, and a lot of people ask me like, why did you pick that school? It's the easiest school to get into. Plus, they gave me a big scholarship for my merit money. I mean, my merit. So I just chose it randomly, but I would say apply to a lot of
And if you went to
safeties. Like
Alabama,
four safeties is good.
yeah, and if you went to Alabama, then you'd have a good
If
sports team to fall back on.
yes, yes, that's very true. But no, apply to safeties
Yeah,
and apply to safeties that you are like okay with going to.
because
That's a very
yeah,
big thing.
I have
Um,
family
yeah, it's just important.
I have family over in Tennessee, and that's why Vanderbilt was definitely my top one. But as it's one of the top schools in the country, it'll be very hard. But I've been using a service called Plexus. This isn't sponsored, by the way, but if you're a student looking to go to university in America, get that app. It is really really helpful. And someone reached out to me on it, and it was a representative from Tennessee Technological University, and the more I've researched that, the more I'm really liking it. And it would be classed as a safety school compared to um, Stanford and Vanderbilt, which are my two main schools that I'm looking into. But I really, really enjoy what I see from just researching. And that is a big part of it, research.
Yeah.
So one school that didn't come to my attention really until recently was Kenyon. And I and as we've got you who's just starting out as a freshman and an international student, then it just works out perfectly, really. How do you feel you've been welcomed into Kenyon as an international student?
Okay, I'm gonna start from afar. I have a lot of friends who are really smart, like really. All of them went to Stanford and Ivy Leagues and Vanderbilt, for example. She was also an international student. So what I've noticed, because they post a lot of stories, as millennials do.
Yeah,
So I saw that the first day they move in, second day, it's like a big thing. Everyone is like cheering, "Yay, welcome to the class!" And the third day, classes start. At least in Vanderbilt.
yeah,
Um, so I didn't really see that orientation. And since it's such a big school, it's logical that they can't give students the time that they need to like
yeah.
greet them and like explain how stuff works. You have to do that on your own.
Jump right in.
So at Kenyon, yeah, just like straight to classes. At Kenyon, and I think at all liberal arts schools, which are smaller schools, you really get personal. So right now I'm completing my pre-orientation, which is like the orientation before the orientation. And honestly, if I didn't have this pre-orientation, I don't think I would have been as comfortable, meaning that I get to move in earlier than all of the other Americans and explore the campus and, be okay with jet lag and all of that stuff. Second of all, they helped us with immigration documents. They explain like how internships work, what to do with your I-20,
Yeah,
the F1 visa, like stuff like that.
yeah,
Plus, they helped us open a bank account here for like a campus job if we need it, and I clearly do.
yeah.
Like the money is gonna go there.
Because I did look
So
into
they,
that, and legally you're not allowed to get a job
yeah,
off campus in the first year. Which, when I was looking at how I was going to afford it, I was like, that is an absolute blow. But now that I know that you can get on campus jobs, that does help a lot. And
yeah.
have you looked into that then? What jobs are available to you?
Yes, I definitely looked into a lot of jobs because I mean I am on financial aid, but it doesn't cover how do I say it nicely?
Everything.
It doesn't cover everything. Yes, it doesn't cover everything.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about working a lot of jobs. And actually at Kenyon, I'm not sure if it's for all of the other schools, but I'm sure for most liberal arts schools as well. They have a period of time, for example, right now, it's 2 weeks, where the positions are open to work study students. So those are students who are on financial aid and who need work study as a part of their package. And I would say apply to jobs early. I applied to my first job in May or July, or June, I mean, May or June. And that's really early.
Yeah.
And I got it. And now I'm like kind of chilling because I have at least one job. And now I'm applying for other jobs. So yeah, definitely like research what you can do. Maybe you can be a TA for a lot of internationals. You can easily be a TA for your language. For Spanish, it's a bit complicated because there are a lot of Spanish speakers. But for example, I'm Russian, so I can easily TA Russian because, you know, it's my mother tongue. So yeah, definitely look into the jobs. There are opportunities. You just have to find them.
Yeah. And also going back to how many colleges, 21 that you applied for, would you recommend applying to that many?
I mean, if you're an overachiever like me, definitely apply. But if not, don't. I'd say 15 is a good number.
15.
21 is too much because I had to write 75 essays, and the money that you have to send the test scores, plus you have to check.
Hello, everybody. This is me, Isaac. Just got some unfortunate information for you all. This podcast that you've just seen, the second half of it has corrupted. Don't know how. And I'd just like to talk about what did happen in that second half that has gone missing. So, me and Alex, we talked about Greek life in Kenyon University and sororities and fraternities. He did say that there is not much at Kenyon, however, there is at bigger schools such as Vanderbilt, which was talked about earlier in the episode, and also Ivies and stuff like that. So he said that party life is somewhat big there, and there's parties there every Friday and Saturday night that run from about 10 to 3 in the morning. And there is things people who will not go to parties to do, and people like that aren't seen as outcasts or anything like that. He also gave some advice at the end, which unfortunately has got corrupted, but I would like to say a big thank you to Alex, and unfortunately it was about 10 minutes or so of content that was lost, and there is going to be links to Alex down in the description, and I'm not sure where this is being posted apart from YouTube, but I would definitely recommend going to see his YouTube channel, as I think I mentioned at the start of the podcast, but he didn't have to do this interview. He didn't have to go and call me, he didn't have to reply to my initial message, but he did, and I'm very thankful for him. We also did hint at the possibility of maybe next year having a 1 year on video where we do look back at this interview that sadly has gone partly missing, and we do look at how he is after finishing his freshman year. We also looked at college athletics, and as Kenyon is a D3 school, we compared that as well as the NCAA fees, which are $50 more for international students. We also looked at additional fees as well that we didn't cover earlier on in the podcast, and we also heard an anecdote from Alex Smirnov about one of his friends who contacted Kenyon, who after being waitlisted or rejected, he wasn't quite sure, ended up getting in because they contacted the tennis coach at Kenyon. So it is always a good idea to contact coaches and faculty at schools you are looking to apply to. again, that recording that I've just done has only half recorded, and it was only 5 minutes. So I'd just like to finish off by just saying thank you to Alex and to all you watching this, and hopefully you'll come and watch the next one. Bye.